go by what officials are saying to, of course, mainstream media. So, Sanjay.
Rahul, it is very clear that Israel and to the extent that US is on board for this immediate assault as well, would be very particular about not targeting civilian areas in Iran. Civilians in Iran are seen as the natural allies of Israel and the US. The first declarations after that revolt that we saw were to step in on their behalf to secure their rights and their lives and their freedom. So that has been the declared mission. The more pointed mission is to denuclearize Iran to the extent possible. But certainly these are not people, these are not areas that would be targeted. And we do have, of course, very precise munitions in place with Israel and with the US. These would be very sharply targeted assaults. And the IRGC would be the first target. Khamenei, certainly the leadership in Iran, the political leadership, no one is safe, the military leadership, and we've seen Israel carry out targeted assassinations from this distance of top military leaders of the IRGC and from the armed forces before, and that seems to be an operation that is now underway, except that this time
coming in, Sanjay. Let me just quickly update our viewers on some of the locations that have been attacked. We're being told now these are according to media reports, mainstream media. CNN is also sort of reporting it, affiliate. Key locations have been attacked, including Khamenei's office, defense intel offices, and Isfahan, a key nuclear site. So it's the first confirmation that is coming through that these strikes have not just been concentrated on the capital Tehran, that it could have extended to Isfahan, which is also, of course, the spiritual center of the regime in Tehran. Multiple locations in Tehran, including Khamenei's office, defense ministry offices, intel offices in central part of the city. Explosions also heard in east-west of Tehran. And the Mehrabad, the airport, has also been targeted. Attacks in Isfahan, Qom, which is the spiritual center, as I was saying, also Karaj and Kermanshah, Isfahan being the key nuclear site. These are some reports that are coming through. And according to the New York Times, citing senior U.S. officials, American aircraft carried out strikes from air bases located in the Middle East as well as from the decks of nuclear-powered aircraft carrier positioned near Iran. So we're also being told that the Americans might have carried out certain strikes, according to New York Times, that are quoting sources, senior U.S. officials. So, Sanjay, that's one big confirmation of a direct American participation in this. And this comes, of course, on the back of growing frustrations in D.C. over the intractability of the regime in Tehran from acceding to American requests to either allow monitoring of nuclear facilities or complete nuclear disarmament.
Yes, as we are awaiting a formal announcement from the U.S. Whether it is involved in the strikes, it's almost certain that they would be on board. It's hardly likely that Israel would have carried this out while the U.S. sits in this region as spectators to what they do. So clearly there's an operational oneness, and that has not been announced yet as a U.S. strike, but this would hardly be surprising. It would be surprising if it were not to be the case. So if this is now the beginning of what Trump said might be limited strikes, or whether this is a full-scale assault, this is something that we have to wait to see. Trump's favored position, it would appear through all that he has been saying, has been to carry out some sort of limited strikes as a warning, to try and hit the leadership and to warn them that there will be far worse to follow if they do not comply. And the decision that the outcome really will now depend upon the position that Iran takes. If it sees this as a warning and a serious warning and decides to make concessions it hasn't so far, then that is the only way out. It does not seem likely that Iran will go that way, given all the rhetoric and given all the statements we've had from the top leadership of Iran. So clearly we can expect some element of some extent of retaliation also coming in from Iran now. This can be intended as a limited strike, but it may not end up that way. There can be military plans, but once this kind of assault is underway and there's a response from the enemy, then plans do go haywire, it's hardly surprising that they might. So we will have to see exactly what Iran hits back with and whether it takes this as a warning to make concessions or just decides to fight it out to the end.
Yeah, Iran's Fars news agency, via an update, has said the sounds of explosions have been heard in Isfahan, Qom, Karaj, and Kermanshah. Isfahan, of course, being the site of an important nuclear site, a nuclear facility. IAEA recently revealed that Iran stored highly enriched uranium in an underground facility in Isfahan nuclear site. So we're not being able to confirm if Isfahan's nuclear site exactly has been targeted, or if this is a strike in Isfahan proper, maybe on an IRGC command center. We don't quite know about that as yet, but we're going to try and ascertain that. But Qom, which is the spiritual center, that's the seat really of where the Ayatollahs really drive their power from, that's been targeted. Karaj and Kermanshah also targeted. So this has been confirmed now by Iran's Fars news agency. So we have that. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was not in Tehran during Israeli airstrikes. So that's a very important bit of information that is coming through. This is according to Reuters. And of course, now we know that there are visible signs of that strike, and you can see it on your screens, viewers. There is enough footage that is coming through from Iran, and of course confirmation. Now, Iran has been struck, according to various sources, including Reuters, Russian TV, for example. And Russian TV is quoting Iran's state affiliate Fars news agency, saying that 3 explosions were heard in downtown Tehran. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, says that Israel launched these preemptive attacks, as he called them, on Iran, so that the Iranians could get off their high horse. The quote exact is, Iran has repeatedly said diplomacy is the answer and not threatened an attack on Israel. And at this moment, of course, we are waiting word on exactly how the Iranians plan to sort of go out there and respond. So we can see escalations. It could happen. But as of now, we're not seeing any signs of that. Iraq has just closed its airspace. That's another big update that has come through. And this is Russia TV putting that out. Iran has also closed its airspace in different sectors. And that would be obvious because there is obviously now the prospect of some amount of Iranian retaliation. Let me go back to our studios for just a few moments and also bring into the picture Sanjay Suri and Aman Sharma, as well as Arun Dhata. Arun, what are the other updates that you're hearing? We're also going to bring in Sanjay in just a few moments. Yes.
That's right, Rahul. In fact, as we've been reporting this, that it's a joint attack from United States and from Israel. That's something which some of the international media outlets are reporting. And also, of course, the supreme commander of, supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, was not there. Whether this attack could be to take him out, that's something which we'll have to know. But right now it is being reported from there that he wasn't there, though the attack was very close to his residence there. Let me quickly go back to Sanjay Suri here. Sanjay, of course, we're given to understand that as some reports are emerging from Iran, that thousands of Islamic Revolutionary Guard corps have been killed and wounded following these attacks. These are the reports that we are picking up from there. Anything that you can add on to that?
Well, I mean, we have this report suggesting thousands, and of course it would be too early to do a count for anyone there on the ground. It would suggest that the level of attack has been very severe and it has been massive. There would have been a number of IRGC centers that would have been targeted, and clearly there have been a lot of explosions there, and gauging from that and going by the level of staffing and presence at these centers, we have a fairly informed estimate, one would think, that it would be a very, very high death toll indeed. And this has been coming, that these are centers that would be targeted. Iran would have also seen this coming. Iran would have known that these are the prime targets of the US and Israel coming to fighting together and launching an operation like this together, that it would be Khamenei, it would be the IRGC, it would be military leaders, it would be the political leadership, and it would have taken a level of precaution Whether that has been protective enough is far from certain. We do have clear indications that the attack on some of these centers has been massive, and this is just the start of it. There will be more to come, and a great deal more to come. And we're going to see the casualty toll mounting very rapidly within Iran. And the concern that everyone has, and not least will be the US and Israel, to minimize collateral damage and to prevent any fallout that is intended to or ends up attacking or killing civilians. So they certainly will take great care to protect civilians. So when we are looking at this high death toll, the expectation is that the concentration of the attack and the casualties would be among the IRGC and the armed forces and the forces close to the regime rather than the civilian population. The question then about the civilian population is how they respond, whether they see this as an attack on their country, whether they rally around, whether they use it, or a number of people use this as the trigger for a renewed revolt. This will be another area to watch out for, because there is great unrest within Iran. It is a divided society. Without doubt, there are also a number of people who, for their own reasons or their own interests, are close to the regime and supportive of it. So there is a split within Iranian society. How wide that split is something that we will see unfold as well. And this could really open up a new divide within Iran in ways as yet unforeseen. But it may well get a lot of the protesters back on and give them some sort of a renewed confidence to protest against the regime, as they see that it will be on its back foot now in the face of such an attack.
Yes, stay with us, Sanjay. We're getting some more breaking update in this story. Let's cut to that. All right, let's quickly cut across to Aman Sharma here. He's with us from the newsroom. Yes, Aman, what is the latest?
Story that is coming now from Iranian news agencies that 7 missiles have hit near the presidential palace as well as the supreme leader Khamenei's compound. That is how serious this attack is, that 7 missiles hit the area near the presidential palace as well as the supreme leader's Khamenei's compound. And what Al Jazeera is now reporting is that Iran will respond with crushing attacks. That is what is being quoted by Al Jazeera, quoting Iranian officials, that Iran will be responding to this particular attack by Israel and the US with a crushing response. So this could really escalate in the coming hours and days, because Iran has been hit very severely. Not just Tehran, but many other sites of Iran have been hit. It's a well-coordinated attack right in the morning. You know, it is also being said that Iran has been left surprised and shocked by an early morning attack. They've always been expecting that maybe it will be a night attack. But US and Israel have in a way surprised Iran, taken it completely, caught it sleeping, and bombed even the compound of its supreme leader today morning. And now Iran is vowing that it will be delivering a crushing response to these strikes. So in the hours to come could become very tense. Already, as Sanjay Suri is reporting from Israel, that already there is a high alert in Israel, because Israel is also expecting that Iran will respond to this. And these 7 missiles which have gone and hit Mr. Khamenei's compound as well, near his offices, we believe that he has been shifted to a safer place now, maybe outside Tehran, as per international agencies, what they are reporting. But this is becoming very, very serious, because now Iran is already saying that it's going to respond. What will be the scale of its response? What will be the terms of its response? How will it respond? Now remains to be seen, but clearly a big escalation coming up in the Middle East.
All right, stay with us, Aman. We also have former diplomat Prabhu Dayal and also strategic affairs expert Brahmachilani. Let me come to you first, Ambassador. How do you see this joint strike coming from Israel and United States on Iran, and that too very close to the residence of the Supreme Leader of Iran?
You know, this is a very dangerous escalation, and these attacks have been carried out with full preparation and full consolidation and coordination between the United States and Israel. Now, there was a talk of, some negotiations going on, etc. But that was a facade, because the distance between the positions of the United States on one side and Iran on the other was so big that there was never any likelihood of the talks yielding any result. And Trump was creating some sort of confusion by saying at times that, there are good results being achieved. And on the other hand, saying, no, the Iranians are not agreeing and anything is possible, regime change, etc. So there was full preparation, and it was only a facade to carry out these negotiations. The fact is, both the Americans and the Israelis want a regime change. Now, I've served in Iran for 3 years. I know the city well. And these attacks have been carried out on civilian areas and areas which are of great importance to the Tehran regime. And the message is clear that we want this regime out. Now, will Iran capitulate? I don't think so. So for this reason, I'm afraid there is going to be an escalation. There is a possibility of attacks on the US military vessels which are deployed around Iran. And therefore, I am afraid that with one war taking place between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and now this huge escalation between the US and Israel on one side and Iran on the other, the entire region is going to be engulfed in a very dangerous situation.
Ambassador Dayal, stay with us. We also have Brahm Chilani, Strategic Affairs expert. Mr. Chilani, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN News 18. What is your initial assessment of these collaborative strikes that have taken place in Iran?
First is that they replicate the surprise element of last June when the Trump administration carried out the bombing of Iran's nuclear sites. The second element which stands out is that these strikes have occurred just hours after the Omani foreign minister announced, following the talks in Geneva, that Iran had agreed both to give up its nuclear ambitions permanently, and also to surrender its uranium stockpile. He went public. He's a key broker, has been a key mediator in the peace talks between the US and Iran from the very beginning, from the time they began in Oman. And the Omani foreign minister went public with these remarks because it was apparent to everyone that Trump will not accept yes from Iran, that having positioned his carrier groups to carry out strikes on Iran, that Trump will not accept even Iran's capitulation at the negotiating table. It was only a matter of time before he carried out these military strikes. It's also significant that these joint strikes by Israel and the US have occurred right after Modi's Israel visit. And I think striking Iran in the way they have struck was clearly an attempt to decapitate.
Yes. Stay with us, Mr. Chilani. I'll come back to you. Now we're getting some more update here. We're getting to learn from the reports that United States strikes against Iran are being carried out by air and sea. A US official told Reuters on this. So this is also a breaking update that we are getting and in fact, US President Donald Trump confirmed the attack on Iran, and in fact, this is something which is coming out right now, that the attacks were carried out by air and sea. This is what the US official is confirming to Reuters on this attack in Iran. So from both sides, air and sea, that's what the United States is planning. Let me quickly go back to Brahm Chilani here. Mr. Chilani, this is the breaking update that we are getting, which is being confirmed by US officials to Reuters, that the attacks being carried out by air and sea.
I think the most significant element is something that you're not highlighting, which is that it was an attempted decapitation strike on Iran. The attempt was to kill the Ayatollah Khamenei as well as the president of Iran. So it was an attempt to decapitate Iran's leadership, which is why certain targets were chosen. And whether that attempt has been successful or not, we will know, because Iran was obviously prepared or preparing for such strikes by the US and by Israel. Nobody expected Israel to join hands with the US from the outset. The expectation was that Israel would come in once Iran would retaliate. But here, to the surprise of everyone, to all the analysts who were looking at the possible war scenarios, Israel joined hands with the US from the word go. And the fact that these strikes have happened right after Modi's visit, just after Modi has returned home, is also very significant.
Yes, stay with us, Mr. Chilani. Let me go back to Ambassador Dayal here. Ambassador Dayal, what are those focal points on which Iran was not agreeing and United States was stressing? Because we have seen the most recent talk that happened on 26th that has failed, and that's the reason probably we are seeing these strikes that are taking place right now.
You know, Mr. Brahmacharani very correctly pointed out that the Omani foreign minister had given hopes by saying that peace is within reach and that Iran has agreed to no nuclear material stockpile. However, the message which came from Trump was very different. Trump said he was not thrilled with the manner in which the talks had gone, and he said that this is not a good sign at all. And he said, well, he has not taken a decision whether to attack the country, but that was only a facade. He was planning very, very closely with Israel to go ahead with these attacks. And
overseas,
now that is precisely
and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
All right, there you heard United States President Donald Trump confirming there that United States forces have conducted this operation in Iran. There, let's quickly go to Sanjay Suri here, who is in Israel right now. Sanjay, United States President Donald Trump confirming this, that United States forces have conducted this attack, and he also reiterated what he's been saying and now put the ball in the courts of Iran, saying that lay down your arms and you will be treated fairly.
Well, this is very clear message, a bold message that this is going to be a war to the finish. The U.S. will not stop this operation together with Israel until there is regime change. So regime change certainly is the ultimate. The decapitation of the regime is the immediate aim. It is also the ultimate aim, and there will be no cessation of these hostilities short of that. That is the position of the U.S. and it is the position of Israel. The question now is that what Iran has that it can hit back with. Iran does have a very extensive and sophisticated enough missile arsenal, and whether these strikes have neutralized that to a considerable extent and whether Iran is left with enough to hit back with, that is the immediate tactical military question. This seems to be an attack at two levels. First, to hit at the regime, Khamenei, the IRGC, and to hit them hard. The idea is that if the leadership were to disappear or vanish or become so weak that it ceases to carry any conviction or any force at all, then the operative fallout and the extension of that could well be that a lot within the IRGC choose not to fight, and Trump has given them both an invitation, a temptation, and a warning that they must surrender. So that if there were to be surrender in the face of this assault and the threat of more, then the missile arsenal of Iran could be politically neutralized to an extent. To the extent it is not. There are thousands of missiles in place, scattered around the country, and the military force and the military leaders of Iran will certainly need to use them. Now is the time to do it, and they will certainly want to hit back, whether they have the means to, or if there is a vacuum at the top, whether then they will have the wish to. This is now the question.
Just stay with us, Sanjay. We also have CNN News 18's Anand Narasimhan here. Anand will be, of course, taking it forward from here. Anand, United States President Donald Trump is just confirming that his forces have conducted these strikes.
Yes, it is. And Israel has already called it Operation Lion's Roar. Thank you for that, Arun. Professor Brahmachalani is also with us. We'll also go across to our other guests who are joining us on the broadcast. But viewers, we are breaking format to get you what has happened or what is currently happening in that region. Iran is under an all-out attack, even as the Israelis have mounted a massive string of cyber attacks trying to bring down critical Iranian systems. The American Navy is using its full might and force. Just an update that we will start with. The Embassy of India in Jordan has actually tweeted and said that in view of the prevailing regional situation, All Indian nationals and tourists in Jordan are advised to exercise utmost caution, stay safe and follow advisories issued by local authorities diligently. All Indian tourists in Jordan are further advised to leave the country immediately before the operations of commercial flights get disrupted in case of any exigency. In fact, if you were to check flight radar, and we'll try and show you here from our news pit in a bit, that the entire airspace is clearing out. The moment Iran said that we are closing, that they were closing the airspace at least until Thursday next, and that entire region, and the huge assault across multiple locations in Iran by the American military. Trump is on an all-out aggressive mode. What he's saying is that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. To safeguard America is what he's saying, and its people and this region. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. We are going to decimate their navy, is what he's saying. They are a vicious group of hard, terrible people, and I'm quoting President Donald Trump here. Its menacing activities directly endanger the U.S., our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. Trump has further said that the U.S. attack on Iran could result in the deaths of U.S. personnel and cause casualties, saying that often happens in war. When he was asked of the repercussions, he said when you go into war, you have to game losses, you have to be able to absorb a few losses, but it's for the greater good. Trump further saying, and I'm reading this out, we are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We are going to annihilate their navy. Just a short time ago, Trump has further said the military operation in Iran began. Our goals are to protect the American people and eliminating immediate threats from the Iranian regime. Terrible and malicious people. Iran must not have nuclear weapons. Never. This regime will learn that it must not challenge American military power. And then Trump has told the IRGC to lay down their arms, saying they will be treated fairly and with total immunity or face certain death. Now there is also another update coming through that there are fighter jets dominating on the skies of Tehran. Mossad has appealed to Iranian citizens following the attack. We are with you. Together we will return Iran to its days of glory. Keep yourself safe. Trump has further said, when we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations. So this is the message to the Iranians, the common people. So somewhere trying to draw the line by saying we are not against all of Iran. We are against the current regime led by the Ayatollah Khamenei, and also we are against the IRGC. Brahmachalani ji, how do you view this? Because there is a certain level of politics that's already developed closer home. Pawan Khera has just tweeted saying, look, Modi's friend has attacked Bharat's old friend Iran less than 48 hours after the Prime Minister left Tel Aviv and touched down in Bharat. Brahmaji.
As you know, Anand, that Trump in his second term has carried out a series of military interventions. He has bombed more countries in the very first year of his second term than Joe Biden did in his entire 4-year term. But this renewed strikes on Iran, just 8 months after he claimed publicly that his bombing of Iran's nuclear sites had completely obliterated Iran's nuclear capability. He, in fact, posted on social media that not only had Iran's nuclear capability been completely obliterated, that it would take years for Iran to rebuild that capability. Now, within 8 months, his goalposts have shifted. He's now talking about freedom. This is the usual tactic with the US. Whenever it intervenes in any country, under any administration that has spoken about freedom, freedom is only a facade for intervening in another country's affairs. But let's pose a very basic question. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. Pakistan is building ICBMs according to American intelligence. In other words, Pakistan is building a missile capability that can strike the United States. And as US governments have admitted in the past, Pakistan has been involved in nurturing terrorist groups. In fact, there was a Pakistan link to 9/11. The key masterminds like Sheikh Khalid were found in Pakistan. Osama bin Laden was ultimately found in Pakistan. Yet the American administration, today's administration, is not concerned about Pakistan. It's actually mollycoddling Pakistan while claiming that Iran poses an existential threat to the US. As the New York Times yesterday pointed out in a detailed front page article, that all the three basic claims that Trump has laid out as to why Iran needs to be attacked, all those three key elements are based on falsehood. Now, the more fundamental question is this, that if this operation against Iran doesn't go well, it will not only mar Trump's presidency, it will actually stem his his interventionist impulse. He's been, as I said, on a spree of military actions. He has redefined peace. Peace no longer is the absence of war. Peace, according to him, is what arises from employing overwhelming force against targets that you choose. So he has blurred the line between war and peace. And the kinds of military interventions he has carried out, he has felt emboldened by success of these operations, especially the one in Venezuela, the way he managed to bring about regime change in Caracas. All that has emboldened him. Now, if this operation against Iran were to backfire on Trump, that will completely blemish his presidency and basically tie his hands for the rest of his second term.
Well, but one would assume that he has gamed that, and the fact that he delayed it for such a long time to trying to avoid it was perhaps fruit of or somewhere proof of the fact that he wanted Iran to toe the line. There are others who believe, Ambassador Prabhudeal is with us, Ambassador Prabhudeal, there are others who believe that Trump has decided to try and... Sanjay Suri is also with us. Sanjay Suri, in Israel, are there any alarm bells ringing, any sirens that are blowing? What is the message around in Israel? You're down on ground, even as Israel has joined operations and called it Operation Lion's Roar. And we are given to understand the Israelis have started with the other arm of war, craft of war, where they've attacked the installations via a massive round of layers and waves of cyber attacks across all Iranian installations, critical installations.
Well, in Israel, we've had warnings and by way of a siren going off, and there have been alerts issued to everybody in Israel through the Home Front app, and people have been told to stay alert, stay close to a shelter. This is an alert, a warning that's gone out. There are no visible and immediate signs of any panic. There are unlikely to be any. Israelis are very strong as a nation. They hold their nerve in the face of such a situation, and not least because just about every Jewish Israeli is trained in combat. People are not just familiar with military routines, they have been a part of these routines. And so this is a combat situation that Israel has long lived with, long prepared for, and long trained in. So the surface calm that you see is not just a matter of pretense. There is a very genuine sense that people will hold their nerve and are determined for Israel to see it through, to serve Israeli ultimate interests as they see it. And those interests will have to be, for a start, not just the nuclear issue that Trump has been speaking more of, but within Israel, the immediate threat is the ballistic missiles from Iran. And if those have to be neutralized, then this operation certainly has to be taken through to the finish. And the prevailing view here appears to be that it's about time this was done, and now that it's begun, it has to be carried out through to the end, that there must be a complete destruction of the ballistic missile arsenal of Iran. There must be regime change, and there need to be moves to encourage protesters to take over their government. and that this attack could be a sign of encouragement for them to do so, while it also seeks to weaken the government and the IRGC from within.
True. Sanjay, you are above, you're outdoors. Is life as usual in Israel, or have people been advised to stay indoors? And hope you also have a spot safe around, and you've been told if the sirens go up, where you need to go, which shelter to take.
Well, by way of an alarm, Anand, you see right behind me a minute back, people were playing beach volleyball. On the beach here, there are people surfing. So that is how alarmed a lot of Israeli people are. But that is not to say that they are watchful. People will not take silly chances out of any sense of false bravado. Right here, to my right, is a bomb shelter. It's an extensive bomb shelter, 4 floors below the surface, and that is where people have been asked to go to in case there is a warning. And people have told that they will have 90 seconds in which to get to a shelter. So people are watchful. They're going about things, but they know where their shelters are. They've seen them. They've familiarized them with these places. Themselves with these places for a long time now. Everyone has the app that will guide them. So there is a system of precaution in place, and for people to respond very quickly. So should the alarm go off, should the siren sound, people will know what to do. Short of that, there is no immediate sign of panic on the streets yet, and people are just going about quite calmly. Israelis do recognize that this is not a new situation. They have faced and lived with the threats and in a warlike situation almost ever since the existence of Israel from the late 1940s. So this is going to be a real test now. This is going to be a real challenge. This is going to be different, and very soon we'll know whether Iran hits back and what it can hit back with, and crucially, for how long. Because in the last 12-day war in June of last year, to begin with, Iranian missiles were neutralized by Israel and the US together. But as the fighting continued, Iran managed to penetrate the defenses in Israel more and more. Iran has recourse to what it considers swarm tactics, where it seeks to overwhelm with numbers. So these are strategies and scenarios we're looking at down the line.
Right. We've just got an update. Russian Ministry of Transport has said that Russian air carriers have suspended flights to both Iran and Israel. So it's open conflict. Everybody taking certain measures, cover measures. We'll try and see if we can get Ambassador Prabhu Dayal also to join us on the coverage. Brahmachalani is with us. We have more updates, viewers. Exiled Iranian Prince Raza Pahlavi has urged Iranians today, just a short while ago, to prepare to return to the streets as the Islamic Republic collapses, and called on the country's military, police and security forces to break with the clerical establishment and join with what he described as a push for a stable and secure transition. Now, this message that was addressed to Iranians, Raza Pahlavi has said it's time to resume protests because the end of the regime was near. He urged people to stay home, remain calm, and be ready to mobilize when he gives what he said would be precise instructions. So clearly, it's a multi-pronged strategy, which we knew, Brahmaji, when we discussed last, that they will have to put in place to topple the 47-year-long regime led by the Ayatollah. Somewhere the focus is to topple this regime, a regime change to another regime which will be more pliable, perhaps docile, and would listen to the American terms. That's what they're trying to engineer here, and they cannot allow this to stretch beyond a certain limit, because otherwise this entire momentum will be lost. So one is cripple their installations via cyber attacks. 2, bombard them via huge military attacks. 3, create street unrest. 4, try and break the security stranglehold or perhaps the organizational stranglehold. And 5th will be the economical pressure, because all their oil exports, crudes are gone, the coffers are now dry, and Iran can't wage a long war. Their entire ballistic missiles, if they are neutralized in the silos itself, Brahmaji, what does Iran have as an option but to accept a regime change and the unseating of the clerical establishment?
And regime change in Iran is going to be a Herculean mission. If that's a mission that Trump has sought to achieve, then success is going to be quite elusive. The reasons are simple. Iran is not a soft state. Unlike the states that he has attacked, he has bombed in the last 13, 14 months, Iran is a very different state. Second, the Israelis and the Americans did try the street protest method to topple the regime in Tehran. They were behind. They were behind the recent wave of protests in Tehran. That led to thousands of deaths. The fact that those outside Iran sought to engineer a mass rebellion against the regime, unconcerned about how many thousands of people may perish in that rebellion. And yet, those mass protests were crushed ultimately. But I think there's a more important geographic fact that we have to keep in mind. You know how terrible George W. Bush's Iraq invasion went, the occupation of Iraq, backfired on the US. It ultimately created such strong public opinion against foreign interventions that the Americans even now talk about the disaster of Iraq. And we should not forget that Iran is 6 times bigger than Iraq, 6 times bigger than Iraq. Or take a 20-year US military intervention in Afghanistan. If you put Iraq and Afghanistan together in terms of size, Iran